Hello everybody, welcome to United Star and welcome back to another episode of It's Time to Go, or is it? We've done a few of these already. We've done Maguire, we've done Sancho for different reasons. Obviously, these players come up because we're either fed up, we've seen enough, we don't think they're good enough, we think there's off-field antics going on that may cause a problem. I'm here with Beth to discuss Donny van der Beek. Beth,
Donny.
Initial thoughts on our Donny?
Do you know what it was? I was always such a big Donny fan. I always wanted him to do well, and I truly believed, genuinely believed, he was, if he got given a chance, he was going to come good. But this season under Ten Hag, 3 games in a row. I know they're only friendlies, but them friendlies that I've just seen, like, a player of his ilk should be shining in them games, and he's just not done anything for me at all. And I'm starting to think it's now or never, and I feel like he had his chance, and he's just not taking it. For me personally, I think it's just too much of a drop-off from the level that needs to be in that position.
That's it. I mean, you could look at it now and you could go, this is 3 years of a player's career gone, flushed down the drain, really, because he's not had his chance under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. For one reason or another, Solskjaer somehow convinced his agent and Donny to stay that season, which we all thought was just, wow, what has he promised him? And then the season started, he didn't get any game time. How much of this has been the club's problem and he's an effect of that, essentially, though?
I do feel sorry for him because at the end of the day, they never should have signed him if he wasn't a player in Ollie's plans, which he wasn't. Everyone knows the story. Ollie wanted Jack Grealish. He didn't end up getting Jack Grealish, so they bought Donny as a cheaper alternative. And they're just completely different players. It just shouldn't have happened. But if you really did want that type of midfielder, I don't know what Ollie saw him as, or if it was even Ollie's signing, because with Donny van der Beek, I feel like, for me personally, I know a lot of people see him as number 10. In the games where he's played deeper, I genuinely think it's been his best games. I think alongside a Casemiro would be so much better for him playing with Bruno rather than taking Bruno's role as a number 10, because he's a number 10, he just gets lost. It's just not that type of football that he can play kind of off the striker as he liked to do at Ajax under Ten Hag. So for me, that's just not his position. The number 10 he can't play. In the deep role, I've liked seeing him there. I think in the cameos he's made, he's looked really promising. But then when he's played them full games, I don't know if it's the position that it just didn't suit him. But I feel like in the position what he was playing at Ajax and getting the most recognition for, which was just in behind number 10, I don't think you can do that in this team. And I think that's why he failed this season. But ultimately, he didn't get his chances when he was signed. And for me as a player, I'd be thinking, why have you signed me if you're not going to play me? And then each manager after that just hasn't seemed to fancy him, and we thought with Ten Hag it was going to happen, but it just hasn't. Still not the end of the road, though. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like it's the end of the road for United. I don't feel in his career it is. I think there is a club out there that suits Donny. I actually don't think it's in the Premier League, but
no, neither do I.
I think he has to go back abroad, and maybe Serie A, maybe back to the Eredivisie, like Daley Blind did, and he's shining now. And look, he's had an half-decent World Cup as well. It's just sometimes them divisions suit certain players better, and you never know until you come out of there. You've got to give him credit for trying it at the best league there is in the world, but sometimes you have to own up and say, look, it's just not for me. I'm not good enough to play in this league, and definitely not at one of the biggest clubs in world football. And like I said before, I've said it many a times on many of fan vlogs, many of previews and then after shows, it just doesn't fill me with a player that is going to grasp the game by the scruff of the neck and can control the game. And that, in that position, is what them players would do.
Well, we've seen it when he had them games this season, 3 games, in each and every one of them. And I think he got at least 70 minutes in each game from the start. And he was playing with the first team in one of them as well. Did he play against Sociedad and Bruno was pushed out to the right, was it?
Yeah.
And then at Villa as well, and Bruno was suspended, he played in Bruno's position. And I think he had another game as well where he played, I can't remember which one that was, but generally, for me, it was so obvious that we were missing Bruno in that position, ridiculously, and it made you appreciate him as a player. And I'm not putting it all on Donny, but it's the same team that Bruno's playing in, and it's just such a stark difference, and you are going to compare him to who's in his position. And for me, who's in his position is one of the best players at the club, so it is going to be hard to kind of take that position if that's what Ten Hag sees him as. And it also seemed like there was, for me, 10 players on the pitch, not 11, because he just didn't seem to get the ball. He was making intelligent runs, but runs that people weren't passing to him in time or he weren't spotting. And then also sometimes for me, he moves out of the position where he can receive a pass, and therefore the game just starts to pass him by. So I don't know if it's more training that's needed. I don't know if this team and the style of football we play just doesn't suit him. But I would have thought under Ten Hag, maybe you would have seen massive improvements. But I honestly do think if you dropped him into the deeper role as a squad player, he could do well. I just think as that number 10, it's just never going to happen for him at United.
Yeah, a lot of fans at Manchester United have just said continuously, Beth, that
It's
I
like
don't know what the hype is.
It's like playing with 10 men, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what the hype is about Donny. Was he ever a good player? Everyone's saying he needs this chance, but whenever we've seen him, he just hasn't performed. He's at Manchester United. This is like, I talked about this in the other videos with Maguire and Sancho as well. It's like the standards at the football club have dropped that far that we're actually looking at Donny as being some form of like cult hero who can actually save us. But really, his performances have shown us none of that. And I just feel like under Ten Hag now, there is a change. There is a mentality change within the football club. And I think, along with a few others, I feel like he is going to be one of the higher profile victims of that.
Well, I loved what Ten Hag said about, it was a question in the press conference about Donny van der Beek, saying he hadn't had the best games when he got given his chance. For Donny, is it going to be a loan or is it going to be looking for a move in January? And Eric Ten Hag shut it down straight away and said he either performs or he goes. Yeah. And there's not going to be a loan move.
That's exactly it.
He either performs or he goes. And I love that because I still think he will get chances. Now, I think slim. I don't know if he will be able to move on in January. I'm starting to think, would we be able to sell him for a decent enough money in January? I don't think the club will let him go. I think it'll be a summer move if he does move. So I do think he'll get game time. And personally for me, I'd like to see him in the deeper position because one thing I think he's quality at is his passing accuracy is great when he does receive the ball and he's press resistant, I feel like. But then you think, is he physical enough to play that role? So it's really, really hard to decipher.
This is it, mate. I mean, January comes, the end of January, we've got back-to-back games against City and Arsenal. He's not going to play in them.
I wouldn't want to see him playing in, and that sounds harsh, but it's just...
After that, we've got Barcelona next month, double header. There's some massive, massive games coming up. As a United fan and what you've seen and the rest of the squad, Beth, does Donny van der Beek come into that team for any of them big games?
No. It's just a simple no.
Is that when we have to start being a bit brutal, and is that where the club are like looking at it going, we can't carry players anymore. We just cannot afford to carry players like this because we're trying to find, like you said, he pushed Bruno out wide at one point to let Donny van der Beek play in the middle. We cannot afford to do that as a club. We have to set standards like Ten Hag is doing, but we have to also just say, look, this is the way we go. And if you're not on for the ride, see you later. And I think that's where he came in with that comment that you said about, well, he has to find a new club. I'm not just doing a loan. One
thing Donny can't say is that he didn't get given a chance under Ten Hag, and I do think he will get a little bit more time. Like under other managers, he had cameos, but he generally gave him full games to see what he was about. And he just, I mean, I know it's hard when you've not played first team football in a while to come in and do that, but you've seen with Donny, like I'm sure a lot of fans out there, I don't know about your opinion, would prefer both McTominay and Fred over Donny. And that's when you know. That's when you know the standards isn't there, because for me they're squad players. I mean, I think Fred should go in the summer, but I think McTominay is a decent squad player to have. But if Donny van der Beek he's like bottom choice midfielder, when he came in with so much promise, it's worrying really.
That's it. So we play a 4-3-3 predominantly most of the time. We've got a midfield three. Donny van der Beek is sixth choice, and right now people would say, I'd rather see Iqbal given a chance ahead of Donny. And this is when the writing starts to form and come on the wall, because for me, I do feel like I wanted Donny, like a lot of United fans, to succeed. I really wanted him to be that signing that we made. There wasn't too much money and we developed even more. I think he's come at the wrong time because of what's going on. I think he's on fifth. Another one who's on his fifth manager or something right now at Manchester United, fourth or fifth. And I just feel like he is going to be a victim to us actually getting our act together. And it seems a bit harsh saying that it does, but that's the reality of playing at Manchester United. And that's the way I think the club should go.
Well, when you look at the quality of midfielders that we are gaining, I mean, we have Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno, which you would say is your three first choice midfielders in that role. You're looking towards the likes, if we were talking about Enzo Fernandez in the summer and another midfielder coming in. It really, really is crunch time now, because as a player, he just can't afford to be a constant bench warmer as well. And it could get to the point, depending on who leaves in the summer, is he even going to get on the bench? Like, it generally could get to that point if we buy somebody else in the summer as a box-to-box midfielder, and I don't want to see that happen. But the one thing I would say is I don't think he's a bad player. I really don't. I think there is a player there. Just whether we see it before Ten Hag decides to let him go is it just time to start afresh? Probably, yeah. I think he probably knows that in himself as well.
That's it. You look at Manchester United, you expect it to be great as a bare minimum. I would class Donny as good. Good, just doesn't cut it. I'd class him as
decent.
Yeah, it doesn't cut it, does it?
He's not got a lot of strings to his bow, I would say.
No.
Like, the physicality aspects, like, I don't know, like, when Bruno's on a pitch, you just know his presence. Like, I just don't feel like Donny has a presence.
He's a ghost, isn't he? He's like that. He is like that. And unfortunately, that's why, for me especially, I do feel like Donny van der Beek is on the must-go list for himself.
Could get some money for him as well, you know.
And the football club. I do feel that way. Guys, let us know what you think, obviously, in the comments again. Is it time for Donny van der Beek to go? Is it time that the club looked elsewhere and stopped giving chances to these players that haven't cut it? He's coming into his third year at Manchester United now, and I can honestly say he's had no impact. And that's, yeah, it's probably brutal, but it's the truth. And I think United just need the hard facts now. We're not in a position where we are now as a football club where we can start giving chances to players that just aren't going to be able to cut it. That's our opinion. Let us know what you think, guys. Cheers for tuning into the video. As always, drop your comments and give the video a like and subscribe to the United Stand. And we'll see you all on the next one.